evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll just wait for a few more people to arrive. My name's Jonathan Smith, General Manager of Quantum United Management. Thank you for joining us tonight for the information session for the Alfie community. Joining me is the Client Manager for Alfie, Robin Khalil. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Jono. Hello, everyone.
And we've got there's about 15, 20 owners that have joined us. We might wait a minute or two just for a couple more to join. Also joining us is David Partington from Development Victoria. Welcome, David.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for joining us, David. So I'll just share my screen. So tonight's obviously an information session just to run you through a bit about your owners corporation, or what an owners corporation is, also our role as your manager, and we also have a Q&A section and also a developer update section as well that David would speak to. So we will get started because it looks like most people have now joined. Okay, so thanks so much for joining us, guys. So as I said, it's the Owners Corporation PS 811064B Alfie Residential Community Information Session. We like to hold these sessions just prior to the AGM to obviously, for owners to ask questions, for us to run through a bit about the structure of the Owners Corporation, how it operates, and obviously our role as your manager, and obviously what we do as well, and just gives the opportunity for owners to ask us questions with anything they may have, or if they're new to an owners corporation type structure as well. So in terms of content, so we'll be discussing what is an OC, the purpose of your OC, our role as Quantum, your owners corporation fees, and a bit about the financial aspect of the owners corporation, the compliance side of the owners corporation, your owners corporation committee, a developer update from David from DV, and a Q&A section at the end there. So we'll move on to the first slide. So what is an owners corporation? So an owners corporation is a legal entity that combines all the lots of the owners in the plan of subdivision and is formed by the registration of the plan of subdivision. So all owners are automatic members of the OC once they obviously settle on their lot, and they automatically become a member of that owners corporation. The owners corporation essentially operates like a business, so it can make its own rules, which are binding by the OC, the owners, and also the tenants regarding the use of the common property and their lots. In terms of the legislation, obviously that's the area that we provide a lot of guidance on in terms of the committee and the owners corporation as a whole, just to making sure that every step of the way, the OC Act 2006, the OC Regulations 2018, is complied with and followed, just to ensure that the whole owners corporation is operating within the legal framework that they should be. Every member has a financial and legal obligation as well as part of being a member, so obviously they need to pay their portion of the budgeted cost incurred to administer and manage the owners corporation. So I'll move to the next slide. So the purpose of the owners corporation, so it's to maintain and administer the common property, to repair and maintain the common property, to take out and maintain insurance required by the Act, and comply with any OC agreements, rules, and legislation. So in terms of private lots, obviously that's managed and looked after by the individual lot owners. If they tenant it out, obviously that is managed by your property manager if you were to engage a property manager for that private lot itself. So the role of Quantum, so the first main one is financial management, reporting and administration. So as you probably would have received, an OC fee notice from us. So part of our role is obviously the accounts receivable side. So we distribute the fee notices out to all the owners. Obviously, once the approved budget is accepted and adopted, we would make sure that we obtain all those fees into the trust account that we look after on behalf of the owners corporation as well, and also pay suppliers, contractors, and any service providers in relation to the owners corporation. So Part of that, obviously, there's an appointed committee where we generate financial reports that we obviously provide them each committee meeting, and at the annual general meeting as well. We also report on the balance sheet, income statement, and also the debt recovery and arrears. The other role is convening of all committee meetings. So with Alfie, there's 2 committee meetings per year. So in terms of lead-in time internally for us, I think there's about a 5 to 6 week lead-in to committee meetings in terms of preparation. So there's the notice and agenda documentation, as well as various decision papers and information papers that we also need to provide for the committee of the day. Another one, obviously, is the convening of all general meetings. So this is the AGM that's coming up shortly for Alfie. And that's essentially the formal process around the resolutions that need to be passed each year for the Owners Corporation to ensure they comply with the legislation. Governance and compliance, obviously we guide the committee to ensure that their decision making is within their authority and delegation. So the committee essentially have the delegation to make ordinary resolutions on behalf of the Owners Corporation in between general meetings. So obviously we just ensure, depending on what the decision is to be made, ensure that they actually have that delegated authority. Compliance is, it's predominantly around the rules for Alfie. So and look, the main one is essentially maintenance. That's obviously a key one. So the external appearance of each lot, obviously, you know, for the benefit of all members, needs to be well presented, just so that obviously the environment is good for all residents. And part of our checking of the community is picking up on those external maintenance items that may arise. Another part is communication to owners. So we endeavour to send out regular e-bulletins with any updates that we can provide to the owners, and any current pressing matters, or if we get some feedback from residents that they have concerns, whether it be parking or any other issues, we try to get on the front foot and try to get some communication out to the owners regarding anything like that. Issuing of OC certificates, so that's around the contract of sale. So part of the contract of sale, there's an official document that the OC needs to provide just to inform new purchasers of what they're buying into around the Owners Corporation. That's what we prepare. And lastly on this is the Alfie app. So I hope most members have had access to the Alfie app, so that we obviously maintain and administer that app on behalf of the OC. Where do the OC fees go? So these are the general areas that your Owners Corporation fees go. So financial, audit, and tax expenses. So in terms of Alfie, there's been a recent legislation change as of the 1st of December last year. So that changed reporting requirements for Owners Corporations. So Alfie now sits within a certain tier that they are required to conduct a review/audit. So that will be a part of moving forward what we're going to be undertaking on behalf of the OC. They are transitional provisions in terms of the 1st of December. So the financial year that starts after the 1st of December is when the actual reporting requirements come in. So that's when we will obviously undertake that for the OC. Legal and debt recovery. So obviously we do a lot of the debt recovery internally. So we have a number of steps we follow internally, whether that's the courtesy initial fee notice, final fee notice, courtesy letter, SMS, email, phone call. We have a few steps that we like to give people a good opportunity to pay. Failing all those particular steps, that's when we might have to escalate it to a debt recovery company or a lawyer. So that's just that particular expense for the OC. In saying that, the initial costs may come from the OC, but it's always a recovery from that particular lot owner that's in debt. Disbursements, they're just around printing and stationery costs essentially for the Owners Corporations when we need to print out physical paper documentation. Insurance, so obviously as part of the insurance, we need to cover all the buildings and also the public liability for the Owners Corporation. So that is that aspect. our management fee. So obviously we've got a team that looks after the Alfie community, and that obviously forms part of our fee to provide that service. Meeting expenses. So depending on which way the committee decide down the track, if they do happen to want to hire out a hall, obviously it's been working quite fine online, and it provides easier access for a lot of people as well in case they need to travel to a certain destination. So look, if it stays online, then obviously the meeting expenses would be minimal to none. And as we spoke about earlier, the auditing services. So owners corporation compliance. So as I spoke to earlier, obviously there's the OC rules and design guidelines. So it's just important, obviously, that both the owners and also the tenants are just aware of what the rules are, and ensure that they follow that. If they need any clarification whatsoever, don't hesitate to either email or call the office, and Robin or a team member who look after the Alfie community would be happy to clarify and explain each one of those. So the next slide is the OC committees. So committees are appointed at each annual general meeting, and obviously there's a fiduciary duty that the committee must abide by as being representatives and making decisions on behalf of all the owners. Like I've said, we always guide the committee as well to make sure that any decision they're making is compliant with the Act. But it's also their duty to make sure whatever decisions they make, they comply with this requirement, which is to act honestly and in good faith in the performance of their functions, exercise due care and diligence in the performance of their functions, and not make improper use of his or her position to gain an advantage, essentially, which is pretty straightforward, but obviously it's important for it to be made clear that it's any decision that's made, it's got to be made in the best interest of all lot owners. Now I'll move to the developer update. So I might hand the baton to David, just to give a bit of an update. David, you all ready to go?
Yep, thanks, Jonathan. So evening, everyone. For those who haven't met me, I'm David Partington, the Senior Development Manager of the Alfie project for Development Victoria. I'm conscious I probably won't take too much time because we have just sort of on the back of last night sent the latest weekly update. So I'll just rattle off a few things, but I guess the main reason for my attendance tonight is to help answer any questions or anything associated with more of a developer related item that I can assist with alongside the Quantum team as well if there is any questions. So feel free to sort of house them in the Q&A session that follows. In terms of sort of updates on site, a big part of our work remaining is obviously the Central Park, which hopefully a lot of you have seen come up into almost completion over the last few weeks. We do just have the shelters to basically complete in stage one. So we're only a week or so away from probably removing a lot of the temporary fencing around the grass areas to enable access to residents, noting that the shelters will probably have a couple weeks more work to do, a fair bit of intricate sort of material detailing, and also the barbecue connection and associated certificates to get through. But I think the good news is we're aiming to have the grass area of the first stage of the park opened up around the end of next week. Obviously, next week's update will give a drop dead date for that, but that should allow everyone access from next Friday in terms of using that first stage. On the second stage, we're just awaiting the installation of all the turf and plants, as you've seen in stage one. That obviously continues through to stage two. So we're planning to commence that in the next couple of weeks, being early May. And again, once that's established over a few weeks, to make sure that grass is nice and hardy before it's opened, we're likely to open that second stage of the park in early June. One other note just to mention on the Central Park is we are planning to arrange basically a facade clean of windows at the completion of each stage of the park. Noting, given it's a stage development, there is a fair bit of ongoing construction work that's likely built up a little bit of dust and things across facades. So we will again keep you updated in these weekly updates about the access requirements and the timing of those cleans. But I think that will go a long way to completing the park and making sure that the houses look their best once that park's all open and underway. Roof inspections. I know we've probably touched on that in the update, but we have completed the roof inspections now and all the rectification works for both stage 1 and 2 of the project. We're now just awaiting the confirmation of the roofing contractor. So essentially, they'll put a report together that confirms all of those items in the reports that have been provided were adequately addressed. And we'll obviously be able to round that out and make sure that all of those items have been completed. We're just packaging up the wayfinding signage proposal that's been completed by a consultant we appointed, given a fair bit of feedback on obviously some confusion around signage, difficulties for path of travel, delivery drivers, visitors, etc. Acknowledging that, obviously the consultant has gone out to site, seen the issues raised and identified some solutions to hopefully assist with those issues. And once we've obviously got a draft proposal there, and the aim is to seek owners' feedback on the proposed solutions before we do start to implement that. So you'll shortly see, likely early next week, shortly see a proposal package come through from Anne-Marie, the relationship manager, and essentially that will pinpoint areas of improvement and provide a bit of an imagery to what is proposed in each of the areas. I think the quickest and easiest way to sort of get towards implementing that is to package up any questions or extra feedback you have, and then we'll circulate what the final proposal looks like, and then essentially plan to implement that on site shortly after. So stage 3, the final stage of construction, we have obviously had a number of difficulties in timber supply over the last few months, so it has been fairly slow going in terms of that final stage of construction. But we are at the tail end of that, so we're likely to see all the framing complete by May. And you will start to see brickwork and scaffolding and roofing and things come underway there once framing's all done. The intention is at this stage to have those final residents start to settle from October through to the end of the year. So the intention is at this stage to essentially have majority of those homes complete by the end of this year. And again, with the Central Park tying into that, we're obviously working with the builder quite closely to work out how we can accelerate the completion of that last stage to make sure that sort of in line, if not shortly after, with those settlements, all the owners within the community have access to that final stage of the park, and we can move into the maintenance process of that final stage, as we are shortly doing with stage 1 and 2. I don't think, look, I don't, yeah, again, I'll keep it nice and short because there is obviously that weekly update that's only gone out last night, but I might leave it there and just sort of open it up to questions, basically back to Quantum, and if there's anything developer related, we can obviously help out with that as well.
Perfect. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. There's a couple of questions that came through prior to the information session, but there's one that just came in now from Cheryl Whitty. Thanks for that, Cheryl. So Cheryl asked, hi, I have a toddler who loves being out and about. When will the children's play equipment be installed at Central Park, and what equipment is planned to be installed as well?
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. So there is some minor play equipment in stage 3 of the park. So the intention would be that would be looking like that late this year, around the completion of that last stage of construction. There is a couple of sort of, I don't know what they're called, sort of seahorse, rocking horse kind of arrangements planned for that last area, which comes alongside another shelter that you would have seen starting to be installed in between stage 1 and 2. So there is another shelter between stage 2 and 3 that will essentially mimic that, noting that there's a couple of play areas that go along with that. I guess the difficulty and the reason why it's probably minor in scale is those equipment, I guess, designs and elements have a fairly wide or large fall zone that's required for obviously rubber matting and safety reasons. So given, I guess, the nature of the park, there's probably not too much scope to have a large amount of equipment there, but certainly we can provide some imagery of what's proposed. But that will be sort of late this year, if not sort of shortly into 23, once that last stage of the park's complete.
Awesome. Thanks for that, David. I might pass it over to Robin just to read out a few of the questions that came in prior to the info session. Over to you, Robin.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks for that, Jono. Well, we had a few questions just come through, obviously, within the registration. So the first question that's come through is from Melody Ellis. Will someone from Development Victoria remain on the Owners Corp committee during stages 3 and 4 after those retiring leave? Now, Development Victoria have decided to allow lot owners to take up the positions onto the committee, so won't be renominating at the upcoming AGM. Did you want to add anything to that, David, or did that answer all?
Yeah, sorry, I should have probably reiterated. So I guess,
okay,
like Jonathan mentioned, the committee was initially set up at registration of the first stage, and I guess at that point, Development Victoria was the only owner. Hence we become the committee by nature, I guess. I understand with the growth of the committee or the community over that period, we're obviously retiring from that position to, as we should, obviously give that over to owners that want to be on the committee as well. We've obviously got a stake in the Owners Corp as a member only for stage 3, but obviously that only comes about until those stage 3 residents settle on their lots. So yeah, like Robin said, won't be sort of putting our hand up for the committee meeting. I guess the idea is to have residents now take the lead there, with us taking essentially a back seat in that sense, but obviously still in the Owners Corporation until such time that all the owners settle.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, David. We've got the next question from Jimmy Tai. What can we do to escalate our warranty repairs but require action? So we manage and maintain common property and are not engaged as a service provider to repair and maintain private lots within Alfie. In terms of warranties regarding private property, you'll need to contact Development Victoria and just liaise with them on that. David, did you have anything just to add on that one there as well?
Yep. So I think look, any warranty or defect rectification process is best to go through the relationship manager, being Anne-Marie. Hopefully you've all been able to touch base with Anne-Marie and start to coordinate that process. Certainly let us know if that needs to be escalated. Obviously Anne-Marie, we meet with her quite often. So again, Anne-Marie is the best point of contact to have that escalated through both Development Victoria and the builder.
Awesome. Thank you for that, David. Next question from Fiona Day. The surplus funds from 21 year, how are they invested to be used for future maintenance? So as at the 31st of December 21, the Owners Corporation did not have any surplus funds. There was a deficit of approximately $4,000. Now there is a surplus funds currently. However, these funds are to cover the upcoming expenses for the remainder of the financial year. So thank you for your question, Fiona.
So I'll just add to that, Robin. Yeah. So with owners corporations, they're generally run relatively lean. Obviously, we prefer to have a little bit of extra cash in the account, just in the event certain owners aren't paying on time, and we still have sufficient funds to pay the maintenance contractor, to pay the insurance, and all those sort of things. So. If it gets to a point, obviously, which I probably doubt, but if it gets to a point down the track where there are excessive surplus funds, that always just remains in the trust account. So it just stays in the Owners Corporation trust account and shows up as an opening balance, obviously, the following year. And look, if it gets fairly high, then it's up to the committee if they'd like to potentially invest that in a term deposit. Not that the interest rates are too good at the moment, but they obviously have that option. I think with this size owners corporation, it's unlikely that they're going to have a large surplus or excess amount of funds, to be honest.
No worries. Thank you for that, Jonathan. Now the next question comes from Melanie Day. Maintenance schedule plan for next 5 and 10 year. So as the Owners Corporation is a tier 1, tier 2 Owners Corporation, in accordance with Division 3 of the Owners Corp Act 2006 and Regulation 7 of the OC Regulations 2018, the Owners Corporation must prepare and approve a maintenance plan for the property for which it is responsible. The maintenance plan for the Alfie development will be undertaken following the completion of Stage 3, in which all anticipated lots will then be completed.
Yeah,
so did you want to add anything? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's all right. So,
yeah.
so in a nutshell, the actual OC falls into a certain tier based on the change in legislation last year, where they must have a maintenance plan. So as part of that, obviously we'll wait till the development's fully complete before we actually undertake that maintenance plan for the whole development, which makes practical sense. So at the upcoming AGM, we'll actually resolve to get approval to initiate that maintenance plan.
I think just to touch on the shorter term, obviously the majority of that being the Central Park, hopefully we've been able to spell out the fact that the contractor has their own maintenance regime for the first 3 months once the park's opened. And then beyond that, we'll obviously work through a scope with the Owners Corp to essentially carry that through. So, I guess the intention is if for any reason that maintenance plan for the park or any other element is too little or too much, again, having owners on the committee and that sort of stuff that we're asking people to now sort of raise their hand to get into with the upcoming AGM, it's sort of again another opportunity for the owners to take charge of what they want to see that maintenance plan look like as well. It ultimately sort of ends up up to you guys as well.
Awesome. Thanks for that, David. So last question we've got here from Elk George. How often will weeds be removed as they seem to grow quite rapidly around common areas? So we've got a scope of works with our landscaper. So here's a 3 weekly from October to April and 4 weekly on the remainder of the other months. Now, his scope is to mow and whippersnip removal weeds on Rosella Avenue, Glade Avenue, Blackshaw Road, and Miston Avenue. So these are the areas that we look after at the moment. We're awaiting handover for certain sections from Development Victoria, as David explained, but once these are done, then the community will be known. And that's about it for questions.
That was the final one.
Yeah, that was the last one there.
Thanks, Robin. Just wondering if are there any other questions from the floor that owners would like to ask? Just give people a couple more minutes. Looks like nothing's coming through. Look, thanks very much, guys. I appreciate you joining us for this information session. I hope you got a bit out of it. Obviously, Robin or myself or the Quantum team are available via email or phone call. If you have any queries outside of this, obviously, we're always free to assist you guys. And naturally, David and the DV team are always available as well. So thanks, everyone, again. Thank you, David. Thank you, Robin. Hope everyone has a good night.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.